Arizabal, and he's with IBI, and he will present their study.
Thank you, Chairman. Mike Arizwal again, IBI Group. IBI Group was commissioned by the City of San Clemente to evaluate alternatives to a toll road extension from Oso to move through. Okay, from Oso to any point on the I-5 for incorporation into OCTA's 2018 Long Range Transportation Plan. Essentially, there are 4 goals. The first being to understand baseline conditions with and without the 241 extension. The purpose of that is to determine any shifts in traffic on key corridors due to implementation of a toll road, and to assist in development of alternative arterial solutions. The second is to identify and develop potential roadway alternative packages to improve mobility. So that's based on what we see in terms of traffic diversion in our baseline 2040 with and without 241 extensions. And then our third is to analyze and compare alternative packages to this our 241 extension. So the purpose of that is to see if there's similar and or better results that could be achieved within the study area that doesn't involve any kind of north-south connection through the City of San Clemente. Lastly is provide our findings and conclusions. With that, I could just briefly run through our methodology. We use OCTA's travel demand model. That's 4.0. That's the latest one. It's countywide accepted for use in transportation planning. Within the OCTA model, they use 2040 demographics, socioeconomic data. They also use projects from the preferred plan. That's the 2014 OCTA LRTP preferred plan, which includes Measure M2 projects, build out of the
Are
Master
they
Plan
even
Arterial
listening?
Highways, MPH. And then with that
Look at
as our
Puckett's
base,
body
we want to
language.
go ahead and run and compare scenario results, and that's based on study area, which is roughly from I-5 Oso Parkway down to the county line, and then citywide, which is within City of San Clemente, and then along key corridors within the study area. The things that we're looking for here are, our key metrics, our standard VMT, vehicle miles traveled, VHT, vehicle hours traveled, VHD, which is our vehicle hours of delay, and then volume to capacity ratios along specific corridors that we're looking at. Again, this slide here just shows the basic calculation of how we're
Peggy
coming,
Huang is
how
very
we're arriving
interested.
at these numbers. So if I could just walk through our various network configurations. So on the left, baseline do nothing. That includes 2040 projections, but using our 2012 roadway network. So as you can see, there are things that are not built out. San Juan Capistrano and Las Ramblas extensions, La Pata. You can see those roadways aren't developed in that network. The purpose of that is just to show what implementation of the LRTP would do in terms of improving mobility. The second one on the right there is our no project. That's our baseline 240 with our M2.
Would you stop for 1 second,
Sure.
Vice Chair Sachs has a comment?
Sure.
I appreciate the presentation, but we have nothing in our binders about this. We don't have your slides or anything. I wondered why we don't have this presentation.
Can I make a comment on that, Chair?
Please.
I asked the clerk to send that, and I believe she did so Monday or Tuesday to every director. So it could be provided so you could see it way ahead of time, so you could ask questions. I was hoping for
My
questions today.
question is why it's not in the binder.
We did not receive the material till after the agendas had been sent out.
I don't have a set either, so I have no information on this.
Okay.
Lisa Bartlett walking out.
All right, the one on the right, like I said, is our 240, year 2040 no project. So that's built out of the OCTA LRTP preferred plan, Measure M2 projects, MPH. So you see the street network comes in there. Our WITH project obviously is an extension of the 241 from Oso down to about Cristianitos there on the left side. The middle one, which we define as package 2, is going to be a Los Patrones / F Street connection between Cow Camp and Ortega, and then La Pata extension down to Cristianitos as well, and also La Pata widening from Ortega to Pico. Let's see. So just using the charts as a guide, the blue bars being the study area, and then the red bars being within the city of San Clemente. As you can see from a VMT, VHD, and VHT perspective, everything's pretty close. There isn't much improvement over the other based on the 4 packages defined when you're comparing it just to our baseline 240 no project. So in terms of our findings, study our metrics, VMT, VHT, VHT, they're all within 5.5% of each other. Within the city, it's even closer, 2.7% of each other. And then as we look to define what the volumes are with and without the 241, if they did put a 241 extension from Oso to the I-5, that would attract, a little bit less than 12,000 vehicles. That's something, in terms of scale, 12,000 vehicles, something that we plan for a 2-lane divided collector road. La Pata extension down to the I-5, even less than 250 vehicles. And then the small segment, less than half mile, Los Patrones extension between Cow Camp and Ortega, that actually had less than 21,000 vehicles in terms of demand. So the Los Patrones F Street connection is essentially, higher than the 241 extension and the La Pata extension combined in terms of volume. And we're looking at daily volumes here. So in summary, we evaluate 4 groupings of projects at year 2040 to understand mobility impacts in South Orange County with and without the toll road extension. We use OCTA's certified regional model to evaluate the metrics such as VMT, VHT, and VHD. And then our conclusions, toll road extension doesn't provide significant traffic relief from a north-south activity perspective. It's actually more important to address east-west demand and their connections between the I-5. So the study area metrics have been shown to be similar across all scenarios. And our main takeaway is if you just build out the OCTA's LRTP plan, the preferred plan, it's just as effective in terms of ability and congestion than any connection of the SR241 to the I-5. With that, I could, I know you guys don't have the data in front of you, but if you have any questions based on the presentation, we'll take those now.
Thank you very much. I do have quite a few questions for you, and before we proceed, I wanted to just disclose this, that I wanted to thank Director Ward for spending almost 2 hours with me in Indian Wells last week. When we were attending the SCAG meeting, we sat down, I was sitting next to her on her laptop. We were going over the old reports, but not this specific report that I have requested to see. I wanted to see all your documentations.
Sure.
Now, I understand the way you went over those. I don't see any assessments on the LOS's level of service for specific segments. I want to see highway capacity software, highway capacity manual to be used. I want to see it for the ramps, for the ramp junctions, for the weaving segments, for the freeway segments. I don't see that. I don't see synchro assessment using 10.0 version, which is the latest one in the US that every state DOT in this great country uses. I don't see any of those outputs.
Same
I don't see
things
your
the
inputs.
TCA
I don't see
refuses
your
to
assumptions.
provide the public.
I don't know that. I don't see that if you have used SCAG's 2040 assumptions with regard to population, improvement, and housing for South Orange County. I don't see any of those. I don't see any reference to, you mentioned that, what's gonna happen regardless of which scenario, which alternative, what happens to all those adjacent arterials? You need to show it on synchro. You need to use 10.0 version. C, you need to show queuing assessments for all those arterials, on ramps and off ramps. I don't see any of those. And with all due respect, you are representing a reputable company. I know your company very well. You guys do a very good job. But with regard to this, I don't see anything.
Sure, I could respond to that. In terms of the report, we have a report that's in review with the city now that can be distributed once it's finalized, and that does have all our assumptions. You're talking about level of service queuing, that's really microscopic.
Of course.
Our scope of work was to high level analysis of traffic diversion.
But may I interject with all due respect, when
Sure.
you do high level assessment of a proposed action plan, in this case for an infrastructure arterial,
Correct.
you need to get down into the bottom lines.
Right,
The small numbers, then you cannot make that kind of conclusion if it's good or it's not good.
We can
as
make
a
it
practitioner,
we can,
as a registered engineer in California, New York, New Jersey, Oregon, Washington, and a bunch of states as a practitioner. If you present it to me, I would not accept it.
okay.
With all due respect.
Where's the TCA
Understood.
data, Fred
We are
Minigar?
looking at that level of detail. This is our first pass.
You've
at it.
provided
So,
nothing.
Given
Then
our
you cannot
scope,
make those global conclusions that if it's good or it's not good. It's basically you do the assessment, precursor assessment, and that's about it.
correct.
At this juncture, we're not advocating for any alternative. We're not advocating for anything. Your mission, IB, was, I know the city of San Clemente has limited budget. I take it, I understand, I acknowledge that. But when you're coming to a board like this, when you're making conclusive statements, then I would expect to see all the supporting technical documentations that everyone in this great country would use. I don't see any of them.
We're comfortable with looking at the numbers
You're-
in terms of traffic diversion and making an assessment from that. It's subject to more rigorous analysis after the fact. So let's say we select down and refine certain alternatives, then we could dig into intersection level service, queuing, ramp, freeway, bridge diverge, weaving. We could do all that, but I'm just looking at a first pass. What are the volumes being?
Then you cannot make
Attracted to it.
those concluding statements, what I'm trying to get at.
Okay.
I'm with you. I mean, I would be more than happy to sit down and go over those, but I need to see those supporting documentation. Let me repeat, if you are not coming or in the future or near future with any HCS, HCM results, any synchro, any VISM,
Where's the
results,
TCA's
then I,
results?
for one, as a registered
Where are they? We've
in
asked for a
California,
year.
Not as a board member, not as a chairman, as a practitioner, I would say that I don't see any merit on the report.
And
So
there's
the
no merit in the
BMT,
TCA.
It's not something standard that we look
Level
at.
of service, everybody uses level of service for weaving segments, for the freeway segments, for ramps, for ramp junctions. Everyone uses that.
Sure, I mean, the initial screening report looked at BMT, VHD, and
Those are for plan.
DHT.
Those are for
Correct.
initial planning.
correct.
purpose.
We're not engineering a facility. We're at the very initial planning
No, I
stages.
understand that. We're not talking about the lane width. We're not talking about any of those. But when you're coming to a board like
Understood.
this, I would have expected that you bring in more
Into the
data
lion's
so
den
you
of
can
corruption and
substantiate
special
your
interest.
statements. Otherwise, you would have said that, okay, these are findings, but in a very, very general perspective, without any concluding statements. With that, Vice Chair Shay.
Yes, thank you very much, and I think I'll make a motion to hire you as our transportation expert. Is there a second? You did a great job.
Conflict of interest.
Again, I'm not really sure what this is about.
Christine is all about conflict of
Who
interest.
authorized the study, because I'm just kind of in the dark here. So this study was authorized by who, or who paid you to do it?
City of San Clemente.
Oh, okay, City of San Clemente paid you to do this. Okay, so, I think that.
Thank you to the city of San
All I
Clemente.
really needed to know. Thank you.
Director Wong.
I cannot say I understood it that Fred just said. And maybe my question probably would be better answered, maybe with the data, or maybe you can just answer. I saw the information, and so I went to the Orange County OCGA's website, and their latest LRTP plan is for the expansion of 241. So what I don't see from your presentation and from your slide is how can you come to a completely different conclusion than the ones OCGA made? And in my, so if you can explain how you can completely be different, unless the reason is because they use all the data that Fred just alluded to, and you're only looking at it in a very small portion. If that's the case, then we're really comparing apples to apples. We're comparing apples to tomatoes here. And that's not helpful. I appreciate the information because, you know, we want to look at everything, but I gotta have some comparison here. That's one. Number two is, you know, you said, well, built out of OCTA LRTP preferred plan. Well, in that case, then you're supporting OCTA's plan, which right now supports extension of 241. So unless you're looking at a different plan than I am, but the one I looked at last night is the most current version. So if you can also answer that question for me, that would be helpful. And number, if Martha, can you go back a couple of slides, because I was kind of drawn to this one, to the, keep going, it's a graph, one more, I think. This one, this one. Your with project and package 2, I'm kind of interested in your 241 extension and your La Pata extension. And I don't have all our routes map in front of me, but that looks like you're examining a project that goes through the watershed. Isn't that part of our settlement that we're just not considering at all? If that's the case, then I think you're using the wrong map.
Going to that point, the exact route is immaterial in terms of what we're trying to achieve, which is the demand induced by any connection through the city of San Clemente.
But you can't tell me that, but you're taking all this in your analysis, and this is what you're telling me with Project H2 and Package 3. If it's irrelevant, then why is it in here?
It's not that it's irrelevant, it's the exact path is immaterial to the traffic volumes that are being diverted onto there.
That's really not answering my question still, is why are you even including it if you're saying the direct map shouldn't be even, this doesn't matter to your direct route, then why are you even
It does matter,
including it?
it's an extension to Christianitos, via.
But we're not
La
looking
Pata.
at with project or package 2.
That's what we defined as a scenario, just to provide as a comparison point.
But it should be tossed out because that's part of the settlement. That's what I'm
Our
asking
scope isn't
you.
to, through the TCA study, and discredit or, reinvent the wheel. We're looking at different alternatives from a mobility standpoint, arterial level highway standpoint, that we could do as opposed to any connection through San Clemente there. And your point about OCTA approving the 241, that's currently modeled in there as part of the commit, which did go away, similar to options 14 and 17. But the data that we use is from OCTA. It's from the 2014
Right, but their
preferred plan.
LRTP is saying 241 extension, but they're not talking about the green alignment.